Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. The first thing I want to say is thank you so much. Chapter 2 at the time of making this video was on 141 views after being out for 5 days. That is insane. That was something I never could have imagined. I was expecting, 20 odd views. The fact it's got 141 views is amazing. So thank you all for that so much. But let's get down to the episode. As you can see, this is not chapter 3, this is chapter 2.1, and as you can also see, it's called Troubleshooting. Basically, as I was making chapter 3, I had a bit of trouble with one of my coding things that you'll see in a minute, and it was something to do with how I'd set up before. And so rather than just delete the footage, which is what I was tempted to do, I decided to put the footage out anyway and show you how I troubleshoot, and so you can see how I locate the problem and then how I solve it and stuff like that. Basically, what you can see on the screen at the moment is me designing some new tiles, and as you can see, it's like a brick sort of pattern. This is the idea of it is the bottom part, which has the black outline, being the side of a wall, and the top part being the top of the wall. So this is going to be one of the wall blocks, and so the idea being that this will sort of be you could draw a room with this, and hopefully the code that I'm going to put in eventually, which will probably be in the next chapter, chapter 3, which will be out soon, you'll just be able to draw in one colour, and then it will be able to decipher between whether it should draw this corner block that I'm now drawing, or the top block, or the left block that you'll be seeing soon as well. With this, what I wanted to do is I wanted to try and keep it sort of symmetrical. The corner was hard. That's basically it. The corner was very tough to do because I wanted it to look realistic, so it looked like it actually sort of come to a corner. But obviously the problem with that is we're looking at it from above, not bird's eye view, but sort of above and in front, so you shouldn't really be able to see any side of the wall at all. But I've been debating between whether I should do it so that that was the wall, what you see there essentially, that's the side of the wall. But I decided against that because that then means our level class becomes a bit more difficult. So it depending how it looks. If I don't like how it looks once it's actually in the game, I'll probably end up changing it and making it so that that's how it is, so that you can only see that part and then you can see the flooring underneath it and stuff like that. But for now, I quite like the look of how it come out once I'd finished it. You'll see more once it's finished, and once I save it, once we actually go into the code. Just before you obviously see the finished textures. These textures don't go into it during this chapter, as I say, they will be going into it in chapter 3. Chapter 3 I'm hoping to bring out in the next day or two max, hopefully the next day. So please subscribe to check that out. But yeah, so now that's the corner. I quite liked the corner, and as you can see, I then sort of copied and pasted it just to bring out make the left side of the wall. What we're going to do is, these are all the textures we need for the wall, is the top, the corner and the left, because we can then invert them. So I'll be putting a bit of code in again in the next chapter. I'll be putting a bit of code in so that we can flip them on the horizontal and the vertical axis. This way the left one, obviously if we flip it, it will become the right wall, and the corner, if we flip it horizontally, vertically, a combination of the two, then we'll be able to sort of move it around and make it so that it looks like the correct one. Thinking about it, I may have to make a bottom corner. That might be something I have to make, because oh no, I won't. No, it should be. I'm hoping it'll be fine. We'll work it out anyway once we get into the coding. Once we actually import the textures into the game, we'll work it out then of how exactly it will look in the game. You can see there the left, and you can see the corner. I quite like the way the corner come out. Just had a bit of noise, and I did desaturate it as well, so that it sort of looks a bit better. And we're back in the code, and as you can see, what we're doing is we're in the engine class, and we're inserting a input handler. This will handle every bit of input that comes in, whether it's on the mouse or the keyboard, which will be both eventually. And all we do is we send it the engine as a parameter to its constructor, and then we let it implement key listener, and as you see, this gives us a key press, key release and key typed. Key press is if you press the key and hold it. Key release is obviously when you let it go. key typed is if you tap the key. I normally ignore key tapped. I don't really use it often. I know there's ways I should, but I don't generally. And then I've included it as a static thing on the engine as well, and then made the engine static as well, so that I can access it from any function without having to include it as a parameter for all the functions. As you can see there, I've just put engine.handler, and that lets me handle the function straight away. We're using key event VK up, down, left and right there. They are for the arrow keys, as they say. We have to make the level tick. As you can see, the level moves around, so that's as I'm pressing the keys. It lets them move around, lets you move the map around, which we will be doing. Obviously we'll be drawing a player on it as well, make the player look like he's walking, but really we'll be moving the level behind the player, so the player will stay in the centre. I did think about making it so that the player walked around the map, but I thought that might be a bit weird, so we're going to have the player in the middle and the level move behind him instead. Sounds weird, but once you actually put it into the game and you put the player on the front, it looks bright. As you can see as well, I've made a new class called block. What the point of this was is, rather than, as you can see at the bottom, I've put just to draw the sprite, what I've had to have done is, if it equals a certain colour, draw that sprite. So what I'm doing here is we load in our colour chart that you see at the beginning, and then we test the red parameter of it. Obviously it's a colour, so we test it for red, green and blue. Green and blue being the parameters, as you can see, and that's how we'll tell whether to flip it and which block, like the corner, the top or the left. That's what we'll be doing. One will be included in the blue part, one will be included in the green part, but the red part is what tells it exactly what block to put. So as you can see, we've got a class here called grass block, and this will be printing our grass texture that you see on the map all the way through the last one. And I've also made a dirt block, or I make a dirt block maybe, but now what I've done is I've also now made a dirt block, so that if there's a dirt block, which you'll see in a minute, the map has actually changed. Going from green, it now goes to black. So in that little bit there is the red function going from 0 to 1. So now the whole map will just look black, but it'll go from red. The red function will go from 0 to 1. What this may mean is eventually I may end up making a level creator, so you can actually build a bank sort of graphically, with all the textures individually, and then save it, and then it saves it as the image with all the right functions. What this would mean, the reason I've done it this way as well, is it means I'd be able to publish the map maker and let some of you, if you'd like to, make the map and make your own maps and stuff like that, which would be something I'd be really interested in doing. As you can see here, me going through my troubleshooting process, and trying to work out basically why it's not working. At the point it was just printing grass blocks. As you can see there, we've got the two missing where the dirt block is, and I'll try and find out where it is, and as I go through it, and you can see I try and make sure that it's actually creating a dirt block, which it wasn't. Obviously, as I said, I try and print true into the thing if it worked, and then so I tested in there to see if it worked. And what had happened, you can see there's a lot of pausing in this where I'm thinking through it and trying to work out where it's going wrong. And you can see here the red in the engine tick function. I was trying to print the red function to make sure my little algorithm there to work out the red had worked. And here what I want to know is the hex string and the red string, and as you can see there, it's printing true, which means it is making a dirt block, and the dirt block isn't working. So what I have to do is go into sprite sheet, and what I've actually done is only included the first sprite. I didn't set up a loop to include all the sprites on the sprite sheet, so I was only including the first sprite. And so because of this, obviously it was only drawing the grass, it was only loading the grass when it wasn't loading the dirt and all the black and pink squares as well. So I had to put a loop into the sprite sheet thing, so it split it all up into 32? Yeah, I think it's 32. It's however many textures I have, I had to split it up all into that. And once that happened, you can see here, me going through it, making sure it all works still with the system things, and it's still not working. And I can't remember why it wasn't working. As you can see, I tested to see if it was equaling null, and if it did equal null, I was telling it to print fuck, because it was winding me up. And basically I was making sure all the texture files are still there and everything. When I went into the sprite sheet thing, what had happened is the sprite, I was telling it to print the XS and the YS, so it was only printing the transparent ones, and it had to be minus XS and minus YS, so that it moved the picture behind it to allow for it. But that has been our episode for today. As I said, only a short one, just the troubleshooting, that's why it's 2.1 instead of 3. Please rate, comment, subscribe, let me know what else you'd like to see in the game, and please do subscribe to make sure you keep up with the episodes, and really more to give me the motivation to keep doing this, because the 141 views on the first video was amazing. Thank you so much, and I will see you in a few days. Bye.